Hi, and welcome again to the Defining Life podcast. I'm your host, Nick Boris, the creator of the Define My Day Planner and now the Defined Life Planner. I appreciate you spending your time with me. I've gotten a lot of really good emails in the past couple of days that have told me that they've enjoyed the podcast over the past couple of weeks. So thank you for that. I like the encouragement. I'll take it. Um, in the meantime, as you're giving feedback like that, let me know what you might want to talk about, and I can certainly address it in a future episode of this podcast. So, like you, I am defining life. I am finding out what my life should be defined by. I'm figuring out along the way. I am along this journey with you, as is anybody. And I think anybody that tells you, that acts like an authority, that acts like they know everything that's going on, probably not being completely honest with you. So I appreciate you coming on this journey with me. Thank you very much. I have a lot to learn, and I'm sure you do too. I am a walking work in progress, and I think we all are. And if we don't believe we are, then we may have more work to do than we think. So thank you for joining me. I am recovering from a very long, man, I'll tell you, I would say long weekend, but it's been a long month and a half. So I every year do this where I know I want to enjoy my summer and not have a whole lot of projects going on. So I overdo it with the projects in the spring. And I told myself this year that I was not going to do it. But at the same time, I had some things I really needed to do for me to enjoy the summer. I needed to have my pool painted. It was just getting too rough looking, and I think it hurts the overall aesthetic of the backyard uh, when somebody walks out there and there's like chipping paint and stuff. It just doesn't look good, right? And the pool had been painted black before, which gives it kind of a cool look, but it doesn't. It doesn't do it like it could be better. And I didn't realize how much better until after I painted it regular blue, and it just looks clean this way. It looks really good. So I'm happy I did that. But it took a long time, man, and it's a lot of work. I actually I used my Define My Day planner to plan the work, which was great. It really helped me visualize the timeline. I broke it into chunks. It also helped me identify the priorities. So the painting of it has to happen within very nice days, and I had to be ready like as soon as I saw String of Nice Days to get out there and start painting. So prepping and getting all of the equipment, like getting the surface of the pool cleaned and done, was like the pre-work, although it was really hard work. And then just be ready. As soon as I saw a multi-day streak of hot or warm sunny weather with no rain, I had to get out there and do some work. So it was a very clear example of having a priority and really not being able to have anything else get in the way of it. But nothing goes as planned, between weather and equipment breaking and all of the things, it's just there's all sorts of things that can go wrong. I had brushes or rollers break on me, the poles broke on me, the paint dried faster than I thought it was going to, so I'm like trying to race against the clock. Kids want to help, and as much as I wanted them to help, it was just slowing me down, and so I had to, give them the time off. One of them enjoyed that, the other one did not. But and then last year my biggest issue was privacy. I felt like like my backyard butts up against other houses, and you can see down into my yard. And I don't want to feel self conscious in my backyard. I just want to float around my pool. Like I don't want to think about if anybody is looking or not. And so I was researching privacy fences, and I found these really cool privacy fences and put those up. And the whole thing, I finally got it finished for last week. I hosted a guy's informal cornhole tournament in my backyard, and we drank some beers and played and ate some ribs and like all that stuff. But I needed to have all of this done for that, and so that was the first day that that I needed to like host anybody in my backyard for this year. And just all the things that I needed to get done at the last minute was just a race against the clock. And then we had the good time. But what that did was kick off a weekend of doing nothing but partying in the backyard. And so I had people over, I think it was every day since Wednesday through Monday. And it wasn't like I had a lot of fun. I mean, and it was funny because at the end of the day on Monday, I was talking to somebody and he's like, "Man, this is just a great weekend." And I was like, "Yeah, well, it was like exactly what I wanted." But it took all of that work to get to that point where I could feel comfortable that I did the things I needed to do to make my backyard, my space, presentable and comfortable for myself and hopefully for anybody that visits. And it was a nice little, I created like my nice little vacation spot, my little party zone. I got my speakers and my places to sit, and my private little nooks, and my hammock and fire pit, and it was just really nice. And I did a lot of things. I grilled pizza. I made hamburgers for my kids and hot dogs and bratwurst and like just all sorts of fun stuff. The pizza didn't go as planned. I bought dough. I always buy my dough from Whole Foods if I'm not making it myself. And it wasn't quite the same consistency that I'm used to. And so it was a lot more elastic. And so it just wasn't working the way I expected. And the first couple of pizzas were just a little bit too moist and they were sticking to the peel as I was trying to slide them off onto the grill. And man, it just turned into a mess. And I had all these kids ready to eat, and the parents were sitting out there too. And it was just like, oh, it was like, like when you think you have everything prepped and ready and organized and ready to go, and then that one thing goes wrong, and everybody said it was fine. The kids enjoyed it. They plowed through the pizza. The parents said they enjoyed it too, but I had less than I expected because I had to throw some away. And I was just so by the end of it, I was like mentally exhausted. So like to sit down and switch gears and sit down and relax and talk, like took some mindful effort. And that was like, man, I was like, I should not have done this for the first one of these for the year. But everybody seemed to enjoy themselves, and we have plenty of time to try again. Although I might do something less complicated. Making pizza might be a little bit too complicated for a large group of people. I don't have a pizza oven, and I was basically looked like a pizza kitchen. I had flour everywhere, ingredients everywhere. It was crazy, but I made some good, decent stuff. We had sausage, we had fresh mozzarella, we had barbecue chicken, and I made white pizzas, red pizza. It was an experience, but I probably would have rather just been sitting outside talking with people. But it is what it is. I know for next time, learn and grow, right? But so yeah, it was a good time. Good time all weekend. It was like burning it at both ends though. I still got up early every day, and not by choice. I woke up early every day, like 6 o'clock, 6:30, just because, and I got on with my day, and I was hustling the whole time, just trying to get things ready or prep food or, hang out with the kids, whatever. But it was just like go, go, go for 5 days straight. And I was working too. I worked probably 3 or 4 hours. It's funny. I kept track of all of what I was doing on my phone and computer calendar, and I could see like I had like 3, 4 hours of work every day through the weekend, through the long weekend that I was doing work for this business. And so I didn't feel guilty about all of the other stuff I was doing away from the business, especially having a long weekend. Now, some people might say, well, check out completely. I don't have that luxury. Like I don't have the luxury of checking out of the business. We were running a Memorial Day sale. We just had a lot of stuff going on, and I have a lot of stuff to prep for this week. And the other part of it is that, when you're painting the pool, I had to cut into some work days. So, I was doing that on days when I should have been working. So it balances out over time. And I will certainly make sure I get outside and check out of work on these really hot sunny afternoons, and I will float around the pool. So I'm not worried about losing too much downtime. I have the flexible enough schedule for that. But it was a packed weekend. So the bottom line is a packed weekend. And so We got to bed early Monday night. The kids had school Tuesday, and my youngest woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning with like this super congested nose. He couldn't get to sleep. So he came into my room and wanted to lay down in my room. And so he's laying down in bed with me. And I have a king size bed, but he was, you know, like rubbing his face and blowing his nose and rolling around. And so I got like 5 hours of sleep on Tuesday. And so it was just a rough start to the week. It was just, yeah, crazy, crazy. But we're here. I'm here. I've been back on the exercise train. My boy and I worked out yesterday in the garage. I did my uh, Peloton lower body workout today and a 20-minute yoga. So I am all good to go today. I haven't meditated yet today, so I got to get on that probably around lunch. I'll probably just go outside and sit for 10 minutes outside in the heat. Um, and yeah, so that's it. Just getting back into a nice routine, eating a lot of vegetables. I really have this mental need to eat vegetables right now to balance out all of the garbage that I consumed over the weekend. It was a good time, but not probably the best for my physical health. So gonna have to swing the other way and go super healthy for a little while. I do enjoy eating salads though. I've found some nice dressings that don't contain a whole lot of stuff, more natural stuff. So I've been eating healthier salads, more leafy greens, all that sort of thing. Crushing the kimchi, trying to work on the gut health aspect of my diet. And while I don't see quite the result that I would like by this time of the year, I keep in mind that I'm trying to make this a holistic change in that I don't want to deprive myself of good stuff, but I'm trying to slowly slift, slift, shift the balance toward healthier food in a natural way so that it's not unnatural for me to make good food selections. Do you understand what I'm saying there? So, like in the past, I've done cleanses, I've done, all these diets, Atkins, low carb, whatever. And it was like the minute you have a slice of pizza while doing low carb for too long, it's like I crave all of the pizza. And so what I'm trying to do is the same thing I did for my mental health, that I did for my workout routine. I'm trying to shift slowly in a direction of overall health in my food choices. And so we're introducing a little bit of vegan food in there. We're introducing a lot of vegetable options so that when I open up the fridge, I have a lot of things to choose from to eat. I'm growing my own vegetables, although I had to tear down my hydroponic system last week. Um, I was fighting white flies, and when I went on that trip to California, I couldn't spray every day. What I was spraying like a soapy mixture onto them, and it was keeping them at bay. But when I got back, they had just taken over. So I tore it down. I'm going to restart it whenever the new seed pods get delivered. And I started new arrow gardens with some herbs, and I'm going to start some lettuce ones this week too. And anything that I could salvage, I took outside, and I was just watering them this morning and pruning some of the stuff, and there's still white flies all over them in the backyard. So I'm going to have to keep spraying them in the backyard. It's a pain in the butt. I've never even heard of these things. I've never seen a white fly. It's like a little miniature flea. I've never seen one before. And somehow they got in the house. Maybe they came in on one of the seed pods, and they are all over the place, all over these plants. And thank God, I don't think there's any more in the house right now. I've had the windows open. There's been no plants in here, so I think they're all gone. But man, what a pain in the butt! What a pain in the butt. Um, so they're working on that. But the advantage of having those hydroponic systems was that I could just cut off super. You can't get any more fresh than cutting the leaf right off of the lettuce, right? And I was introduced to so many different types of lettuce, red sales and different types of romaine. I mean, it's just very good like options and like a super big variety. So I'm looking forward to starting that again, but it's going to be 2 months before I can do that. So in the meantime, just trying to find things in the grocery store that are appealing, and we'll get back on the hydroponic system in 2 months. Um, so yeah, so that's what we're where I'm at right now. I still have yard work to do. I have to mulch yet. I have a dump truck of mulch that's going to be delivered hopefully before the weekend. I'd like to do it this weekend and get that over with. A couple other projects around the house, but it's funny, like when these big backyard projects are finished, I was last night, looking around going, I don't have anything to do. I don't know what to do. So I relaxed. I read a little bit. I did a little bit of work in the evening, just light work, right? And I started watching Peacemaker on HBO Max. It's a DC comic show. John Cena is the main character. It's crude and um, pretty bad. But one of the things that I noticed, or one of the storylines, is that his dad is just this racist, awful, abusive person, and they're the the relationship is terrible, and it has a really bad impact on the Peacemaker John Cena character, and that is a parental relationships is one of those things that keeps coming up in a lot of the conversations I have with people. And so that's going to be our conversation in our next podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about parental boundaries. So look for that one next after this one. And we'll get into a little bit more detail about that. So, but in the meantime, I'm switching gears to, work on my business and work on the little things around the house, little details to clean up my space and get things rolling for June. We are ending Mental Health Awareness Month, but that does not mean that we are ending mental health awareness. So, as I go through my Define My Day process, I am finding that it's more of a mental health practice for me than it's ever been, or it's always been a mental health practice and I didn't realize it. And so that concept of constantly coming back to my Define My Day planner, identifying what's important to me, identifying what I don't want to do, all those distractions or don't want to engage in or can't allow myself to be sidetracked with. And then the little mindfulness practices, what I'm happy about, what I appreciate, what I'm going to enjoy today, and the journaling. That whole process. It's funny because it was like when it came to me, when I started formulating this, I was just taking bits and pieces of what I was reading and what I was learning and putting it together. And then I just started doing it. And it kind of felt good, right? It felt right. It felt hard at some points, which I also believe is a way to identify what we need to be doing more of. But I don't think I realized how effective it was going to be for me. And it's always the pushback that I get from people randomly in the comments of our Facebook posts and stuff is that like it's just too simple, right? It's just like it's just this routine, but that's all it's supposed to be. We have to all the other things we have to do. We don't need to do anymore. And so why would I want to add more garbage to my day? I just want to practice aligning my daily actions with what's important to me and making sure that I'm placing my attention where it needs to go. And that's what Define My Day is. It doesn't need to be anymore, right? We have enough stuff to do. We don't need to do more stuff. I don't need you to write more things. I just need you to write the right things. I need myself to write the right things. And so, it started as the, way to get better in my business and have more time to myself. But what it developed into was a way to balance my life. And the name is still so good for me. Define my day. I'm going to define my day so that I can define my life as I'm figuring it out, right? I don't know everything. I don't know what's coming down the road. I just know how I want to navigate it. And so, that's everything that I've been talking about even today. Navigating all of the things I needed to do to prepare for this past weekend, if I wasn't using Define My Day to set this timeline, if I wasn't thinking about this back in April and setting my intentions at the beginning of May to what I needed to do, I'd be behind schedule. I'd maybe not have this pool done. And if I don't have the pool open by Memorial Day, my kids can't invite their friends over. I am not relaxing back there. I'm probably working through that weekend, doing the things I need to do to get it together. And I'm not, because I got it all done. Now, how did I do that? How else did I do that? I got rid of everything else that didn't matter. Mulching did not get done. Everybody else in my neighborhood has their mulch down. I don't. Why? I need to get my freaking backyard done, right? My house is not the cleanest it's ever been right now. Why? Because if I had 8 hours I needed to be outside, I did that. And so you have to let go when we're doing things that are incredibly important. This pool was the most important thing for me to get done. But I also needed to work, right? I also needed to take care of my kids. So what could I get rid of? I needed to find the things that I could get rid of. Mulching, I could get rid of. Even mowing my lawn once in a while, I had to get rid of. Certain things around the house, I had to get rid of. Going out, I had to get rid of. I really did not go out a whole lot. I didn't have time. I didn't have the energy. I had to focus on what was most important. I didn't work out that much, but I figured I was getting my workout doing all the manual labor. I got rid of everything I did not need to do because we only have so much time. And that's where last week we talked about time awareness. That's where that comes into play. We don't have as much time as we think we do. And it's when we think we have all of this time or the ability to cram so much into this little time we really have, that's when we end up burned out. That's when we end up exhausted, overwhelmed, depressed, anxious, all of these things. We have to be super aware of our time. And we have to be willing to let go of things that really don't matter. Somebody I was talking to this weekend, they were talking about these things that come up in their email. And he's like, a lot of times they just don't answer the email because it goes away. Like something like that's an experiment to try for yourself. Can it just go away? Will it just go away? If I ignore this, will it go away? A lot of times the answer is yes. I think back to, I had one of those to-do list apps, and there's no priority feature, it's just like basically a to-do list, and maybe you could rearrange them. But I reopened the app a while back, and I didn't do 85% what was on that to-do list 5 years ago, and none of it mattered. My life is no worse off because I didn't do those, 50 things. I did the most important things for me, and it took me to where I am today. Could I have done it better? Absolutely. Are there things that maybe I should have done that I didn't do? Absolutely. But am I dissatisfied with where I am right now? No. Because I worked on my priorities. I did the things that I thought was important at the time, and even if I got it wrong, I'm still better than I was back then. And I didn't waste so much time that I'm in a place I don't want to be. So, my point to you is, what can you drop today? List the things that you are engaging in that you don't enjoy engaging in, that are not important, that are stopping you from doing the things that you really want to do, whether it's for work or play or whatever. What things can you just say no to that would give you time to invest in something else more important, possibly even life-changing? That list is your list of distractions. That list is when you're filling in your Define My Day planner and you're identifying the things that will not distract you today. Those things are going to go on that section of that page. and you will actively think, especially when you start getting into one of those distractions, whether it's answering emails or answering phone calls or watching TV or starting a project that really doesn't matter. As soon as you start doing that, you're going to think back to this page that you filled in earlier in the day, and you're going to say, I promised myself I wouldn't engage in this. And you're going to stop doing it. And you're going to redirect your attention towards something that's really important to you. And maybe it's a work project. Maybe it's something you really need to get done around your house. Maybe it's something you need to do in your financial world. Maybe it's a relationship. Maybe it's attention you need to give somebody you care about. Maybe it's just rest. Maybe it's something like checking out and meditating for 10 minutes. Maybe it's floating around your swimming pool. Maybe it's reading a book. Maybe it's going for a walk. That stuff is important too. And you're not doing it when you engage in things that really don't matter and take time and energy from you. It's different for everybody. Whatever those things for you on that list, stop doing them. Stop doing them. Give yourself permission to stop doing things that don't matter to you. And save yourself that time and that energy and use it towards something that is really important, that can possibly change your life. And at the very least, make you a little bit healthier today. All right. So that is my soapbox for this week. Quick reminder before we get into the 7 tips for improving your mental health this week. We have blue and red Define My Day planners, the original. We have blue and red back in stock this week. So look for those on the website. If you are somebody that's been waiting for blue to come back, blue is back. And red will be part of a 3-pack coming up very soon. So those are little housekeeping things I have to tell you about right now. All right, so let's get into the 7 mental health tips, and this is going to close us out for Mental Health Awareness Month. The 7 mental health tips. There's 7 tips to improve your mental health. All right, the first one, which may seem a little counterintuitive, but the first one is an act of kindness. Do an act of kindness. And what we found is that when you do something nice for somebody else, it makes you feel better about yourself. Now, some people might think this is disingenuous. Some people might think this is self-serving. And I would say, generally it is. Generally it is. We form groups and communities for self-preservation. And the way we bond with other people is by doing nice things for them, right? Even the most toxic organizations, toxic groups of people, do nice things for each other within the group. And so when we do things for other people, and it might not even feel natural, especially if you're somebody that's just like in this space where you don't feel good. It might not feel natural to do something nice to somebody else. But I say work on the habit. Do something nice. It could be, holding the door for somebody. It could be paying it forward, doing the thing where you pay for somebody's food behind you. But it doesn't have to be monetary, right? It could just be saying hello and smiling at somebody. It could be, helping somebody bag their groceries. I don't know. It could, dropping off a little plate of food to your neighbor. Whatever that might be, try it. And then feel how it makes you feel when somebody smiles back and says thank you. And then do it again and develop that rhythm and routine of doing it. And eventually it'll be natural. It'll feel natural. And you'll wake up one day and feel like a nicer person. And you'll feel better about yourself. I guarantee it. I will refund whatever it costs you to be nice, which is nothing. So don't expect anything. Now, one caveat here. don't expect a response from somebody. That's where we get hurt. When we're nice to somebody and we don't get a nice response back, especially in the interactions between guys and girls, because girls are so defensive sometimes about, guys, you know, like sometimes people just don't want to be bothered, right? And so I like, I understand it though, because it almost feels dangerous when a guy's being nice. I get it, like that, but that's something that guys have to think in mind or keep in mind. Guys get defensive. Like if you're nice to a girl or you say hi to a girl and they don't respond, guys get defensive. And you can't, right? You just have to like do it and then not expect the response or not care about what the response is because you know in your heart that you were doing something nice. It's not a one-to-one exchange all the time. And it doesn't need to be because this is not about getting the response. This is about doing the nice thing. So just try to be nice, perform an act of kindness, not looking for something in return, but just to feel that you did something good. So that was number one. Number two, manage negative self talk. This is one I was working on for myself before I even started all this other stuff. I identified early on that I beat myself up. And so what I would do is actively identify it and try to shift my attention towards something else or create a different thought or tell myself something different. And it was difficult. It was mindfulness before I understood what mindfulness was. It was me identifying that I was beating myself up or worrying about something or whatever and actively trying to change my attention multiple times to something else. And I just kept thinking to myself, I need to train myself to think differently. I need to change my patterns of thought. And I would just do something else. And what that turned into, or how it evolved, was me starting to listen to audiobooks. As audiobooks and podcasts became more accessible, I would listen to them, and it was almost like mainlining somebody else's positive message into my brain. And so if I was feeling down, especially if I didn't feel like listening to anything, I would do it. And I would try to engage myself into a positive message from somebody else. Especially in idle times, whether I'm driving or walking or working, like doing yard work. Sometimes your brain spins out of control into certain thoughts and anxieties or whatever. That's when I would get into listening to a podcast. You can't do it too much though. Like I would do it during work and it takes your attention off of work and it prevents you from getting into like deep thought. So you have to watch the boundaries of where you do this. The other thing that really works is affirmations in the form of a mantra in a way. So, for me, my affirmations were placed at the beginning of Define My Day because when I would go into a meeting with somebody, I needed to be confident. I needed to be knowledgeable. I needed to be, upbeat. You can't walk into a sales meeting or a business meeting and be like, you got to be positive. You got to seem like you know what you're talking about. And a lot of times we do, we just beat ourselves up, right? And so my affirmations page was full of things like, you know the information. You are a capable person, right? Like, crush this meeting. It could be something simple like that. And it almost turns into a mantra when you get yourself in the habit of thinking this stuff. And I'm not telling myself lies. I knew the information. I knew the processes. I knew the things I was trying to sell somebody or trying to advise somebody on. I knew what I was talking about. They might not believe it yet, but they will as long as I come in confidently and explaining it in a succinct way. And so those were all my affirmations were all around that. And in fact, I just found or just pulled out a Define My Day from exactly 5 years ago. And I can see, like going through it, I can see where I was at that point in my life. And a lot of the things are the same and a lot are different. But I saw my affirmations from back then, and it took me back to what I was doing at that time. And I was a guy trying to you know, build his mental ability, his resilience to go into difficult situations and be okay and come out okay. And hopefully everybody came out of the situation in a better place. And so, that replacing that self-talk, managing the negative self-talk, replacing it with something else. I'm not talking, tell yourself lies. I'm not saying, be naive about, what's going on in your life. I'm just saying we don't need to be so negative, and many of us are, and we don't need to beat ourselves up so much. All right. Number 3, exercise your brain. Get some new stimulation out there. Now, what does that look like? It could be reading, it could be learning a new skill, it could be improving a skill you already have. But when we change our patterns of thought by exploring a new skill, it grows neural connections that we didn't have. And when we put our attention towards new skills and take them away from maybe the skill of having negative self talk, our brains change. And through neural plasticity, they prune old connections that we're not using anymore, maybe the patterns of negative thoughts, and creates new connections to learn that new skill. And it used to be believed that this happened mostly is in kids, and it does. It's kids are more efficient at learning things. We know that, but it doesn't stop happening with adults. And we can learn new skills, and we can do new things, learn new patterns of thought. And so whether it's learning mindfulness, learning to appreciate nature by going outside, learning to play guitar, learning how to sew, learning how to take care of plants, whatever a skill or hobby or a new task at work, if you can focus on that and grow your brain in that way, stimulate your brain in that way, it helps with the previous of managing negative self-talk and helps you improve your overall mental health and patterns of thought. So find a new way to stimulate your brain. Number 4, achieve a growth mindset. Easier said than done. A lot of us are born into families or situations where you either are or you are not. You are athletic or you are not. You are smart or you are not. You are emotionally intelligent or you are not. We all have natural abilities, but we can also all grow and change. And it's that feeling of thinking that if I fail at this, then I'm just, insert word here, worthless. I can never, I'm, a failure. And, the smartest people out there fail and learn from it and improve and just keep striving. And that was the thing that really kept me going. And when I say smartest people, let me backtrack. When I say smartest people, I don't mean like highly intelligent. I mean like the people that smartly navigate their lives. And that's what I always kept in mind as I was going through hard times, whether it was hard times in my marriage or hard times in my business or just in life in general. I can find a way to navigate this. I can improve this. I can fix this. And sometimes that gets stuck in situations where maybe we don't quit early enough. That's just where you have to like also grow your awareness, but it's still growth, right? Like growing the awareness of realizing that a certain situation is just toxic and hurtful toward you. That's still growth. That awareness is still growth. And so I'm not saying deep dive into something that's harming you, but if you continue to strive and you get to that point where you can accurately say, I've done enough and now I need to back off, that's healthy also. But a lot of times that's not the problem we have. A lot of times, especially in this distracted world we live in, oh, I'm not good at this, so I'm not going to try it anymore, and I can move on to something else. And you keep bouncing from thing to thing, and you never get good at anything because we're not born naturally good or not with a natural ability to do a lot of things, right? And if you're not happy with where you are, you know, you've maybe not capitalized on the natural talent you have and not invested in growing an ability you might have. And so you're sort of stuck and you believe now that you are who you are and you have nowhere to go. That's not how life is, right? We have to work at something. We have to grow and develop a skill. Whether it's, something for work or something, a hobby at home. I think relationships are skills. I think working on being able to have healthy relationships is a skill. And so how do you build that? How do you build that? You learn. You read. You listen to podcasts about relationships. You invest time in learning the nuances of relationships and why when somebody does this, I do this or I feel this way. And so changing that ability or creating that ability to see life as a challenge is crucial. The people that continue to learn and grow are the people that are more successful and that have more fulfilled lives. So, learn how to create a growth mindset. Carol Dweck is the one that everybody points to with this. Her book, Mindset, is all about this. So, if you have not read Mindset, I recommend going out and grabbing the book or the audiobook. All right. Number 5, have realistic expectations. This one is huge. It is in the inside of the Define My Day plan. If you open up Define My Day, the first page, small steps, big results, that is about setting realistic expectations. It's about saying, I don't need to do it all today. I can do a small piece of it today, and eventually I will get there. If I set the expectation that I was going to paint my pool in a week, I would have failed miserably. I would have been exhausted because I would have worked my butt off. I would have been frustrated, dejected. I probably would have wasted a lot of money because I would have done things wrong. I would have tried to rush it. It wasn't realistic. And I think we look at a lot of things in life unrealistically. Whether it's how much we plan on doing in a day to what we expect of other people. And so we have to have realistic expectations about what's possible today. And it's probably much less than you think. And when I hear about people that have gigantic to-do lists and they can never get beyond it, they can never get past it, it never shrinks, they're not setting realistic expectations. Expectations of their time, their ability, or what they should even do. So set realistic expectations and go back to our last podcast about awareness of time. That is a key part of all of this. Knowing how much time you have, figuring out what's realistically good for you, and setting an expectation by writing down what you want to do today. And at the end of the day, if you didn't do it, figure out why. That's what the journaling component of Define My Day is for. I had 3 priorities. I did one of them, or I did none of them. Why? Because they weren't really priorities, or I overscheduled myself, or other things got in the way. Figuring that out is huge. It's huge. So figure out what a realistic timeline for anything you do in life. Figure out what that timeline is and keep learning from it. I still do it now, where I don't properly estimate how long something is going to take. But every time I screw it up and look back and say, got it wrong, that helps me make better decisions moving forward. So estimate your time properly, set proper expectations. All right, number 6. Man, I feel like we're going back to when I was 4. Good hygiene. Practice good hygiene. It's a mindfulness practice for me. Getting up, brushing my teeth first thing in the morning, it's a mindfulness practice. Yes, I can maybe wait until after a couple of cups of coffee, or I can just go do it now and give myself a half an hour before I have a cup of coffee. Making your bed. I never made my bed. Never. For 45 years. I do it now because when I walk into my room and I see a freshly made bed, it actually feels good. I've even added plants to my house as a way to get me to practice mindfulness. I get the aesthetic of having plants, but I also have to do the things to take care of those plants. So when I say hygiene, I mean, look, yeah, scrub your pits, brush your teeth, comb your hair, all that stuff. But it's a internal hygiene and an external hygiene also. So it's doing the things to keep yourself healthy internally, whether it's meditating, reading, like doing the mindful things internally, doing the things in your external body, brushing your teeth, combing your hair, scrubbing your pits. But then it's also your environment. I used to believe that messiness was a sign of intelligence, and that's just what I would tell myself. The math instructor in college, I'd walk past his office and it was an absolute mess, but he was a smart guy. Yeah, but do you want to be that guy? Do you want to be that woman? And so the practice of taking care of my spaces and the calm I get when my space is well taken care of is my good hygiene in my spaces. And the more we can spread that out, I think is a better indicator of where we are. I know when I'm in a bad space, personally, my environment looks like it. My environment's a mess. You see in movies where you picture that guy that just got divorced and there's beer bottles everywhere and cigarettes and clothes and pizza boxes, and it's just like he's searching through the pizza boxes looking for a slice to eat, right? Just total mess. I've not been that bad. Not even close. But that's sort of what I'm talking about here. Like when our mental state is not clear, when we're not practicing good hygiene here, the indications are outside of us. And so start here and then start radiating out. And don't expect too much. Set proper expectations. But, if you start noticing your outside environment gets a little bit messy again, that's when I start questioning for myself, like, okay, what am I missing here? What's off balance? Why am I not taking care of things? And then as I get more in my good space here, I start taking care of things outside of me again. So it's a good indication. So practice good hygiene, start internally, and then gradually move outward and have a good environment for yourself within your walls. Okay, and then the last is grow your awareness of balance and practice having balance in your life. Define My Day is not meant to be a planner to only get more work done. It is meant for you to define your day so that you can define your life from a holistic perspective, so that you live a fulfilled life, so that when you look back on your life, whether it's 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, and you look back, you can be grateful for the journey that you were on and the path that you took to get to where you are. Bad things are still going to happen. You're even going to you're going to be in times when you feel out of balance, the way I felt out of balance last month. But practice coming back to balance. Make sure you're not overdoing it at work to the detriment of your health. Make sure that you're not overdoing it in your distractions to the detriment of your health and your work. It's okay to watch TV. It's just not okay to watch 8 hours of TV, right? Some people, it's not okay to watch 2 hours of TV. It's okay to sleep. It's okay to take naps. You don't want to check out. You don't want to use it as a checkout mechanism. And sometimes we have to work really hard, whether it's cleaning up our backyard, or maybe sometimes we have to put in a 12 or 14-hour shift at work, or maybe we're trying to wrap up a project, but the payoff at the end will be huge. You just can't then leap into another project and start spinning out of control, where you might be successful, but your relationships and your health suffer. So when you open up your Define My Day, you're going to find goals for yourself personally, for work, for health, for your relationships, because it's all about balance. It's about making sure that we're making the decisions every day that bring us back to center so that we live the lives we want. And that all comes from practicing balance. Even though sometimes you're going to be out of balance, it's inevitable. You want to practice coming back to it. All right, so that is it for me for today's session. Next week, we're going to be talking about that parental boundaries, talking about balance there. But to go over these past seven, our final seven tips for better mental health, practice an act of kindness today. Manage negative self-talk. Engage in a new brain exercise, new stimulation for your brain. Try to work on attaining a growth mindset. Failure doesn't mean you are a failure. It's just a learning experience. Set realistic expectations. Practice good hygiene from the inside out. And strive to continuously attain balance. All right, that's it for me today. I appreciate you spending your time with me. As always, keep moving forward. Keep continuing to define your life. And I will talk to you next week.